Welcome back to our coverage of the 2013 Race Across America, powered by Train. Well, it's been a very interesting first 24 hours of racing as we watched Rito Schock take the early lead, but last night, as we expected, it's been going back and forth, and we now see Christoph Strasser has taken the lead, and not only taken the lead, but he's about a half hour up the road from Rito Schock at this point. If you're looking on our leaderboard, you'll be able to see that they have both already passed through checkpoint 7. They're the only two riders that have checked in and are already out rolling. That's 441 miles into the race. Some of our other big pre-race favorites are right where we thought they would be. The Slovenian Marko Balo has been our breakthrough rider of this edition of RAAM as he's sitting in third. And then take a look at our leaderboard here for the Race Across the West. Another ride of note coming from Shauna Hogan. She's sitting really very close to, at this moment, the top 10 of the overall as she has checked in at 342 miles and is continuing to roll. Well, clearly the strategy for all of the teams as they rolled out from Oceanside was to try to put as many miles between them and the ocean as possible in this first 24 hours. We have reports of no one has taken any sleep yet, at least no one in the top 15 in our solo 39 rider group that hit out yesterday at noon from Oceanside. So as they're getting very near to Flagstaff, the climbing has intensified. You're actually going to see at some point on our coverage an 8% grade. 8% grade means that every 100 feet that you're going forward, you're climbing 8 feet. And that's a significant amount of vertical gain to be taking in. And you can see the bike, we're going to be watching Rito Schock climbing quite a bit here as he's got beautiful form here. It's hard to believe we're looking at a guy who's already been riding his bike for 24 hours. I mean, he looks like he could be climbing in the front group at the Tour de France right now. And it really comes down to when they're climbing. He is such a specialist. It's this magical ratio between how many kilograms you weigh and how many watts you can produce. And right now, I would estimate he's pretty close to that very, very elite. There's less than 1% of 1% of people on the planet that can generate 6 watts per kilogram. And it looks like that's what Rito is doing right now. Well, all of the national forecasts showed us to expect an incredibly hot, if not the hottest RAAM ever. And this year, day one has certainly not let anyone down if you're a fan of the heat. The strategies that the riders are going to be using, obviously hydration comes into play. And the technology these days, you're going to see multiple ways that the riders are carrying water with them. With the temperature hitting 120 degrees, that's the highest recorded ambient temperature that we had from out on course yesterday. You're going to see, we're talking about the standard 20-ounce water bottle that most bikes carry. You're going to see riders going through over 4 bottles, just ingesting and pouring as many as they possibly can over their head for the evaporative technique. Now, you'll see some riders using a hydration system that is on their back. Other riders will have hydration systems that are built into the bike, and many riders will use multiple ways of carrying water and certainly the electrolytes that you need as well. We've noticed this year the conditions on the roads have been good, but certainly there's always going to be road hazards that pop up out of nowhere. Riders having to avoid some tire retreads, and as you can see in the nighttime, clearly having as much light available to you is going to make a big, big difference in your ability to pick up these objects on the road. Flat tires have not been a big issue. Most of the crews are reporting either none or very few at this point. Most of the riders don't use just one bike for this event. Typically, you'll see the top athletes on 3 different machines. There's a climbing bike that they'll use. Now, when we say a climbing bike, it'll have a very minimal aerodynamic setup, maybe just a couple small aero bars with the lightest equipment available, as that really is the name of the game when it comes down to climbing, is just reducing weight and rotating mass as much as possible. All of these bikes will be using carbon wheels. Now, we'll be seeing disc wheels later in the event, but right now it's going to be deep dish carbon wheels is going to be the choice for just about every rider out here. The other 2 bikes that they have, well, one of them very much you'll see the triathlete using at Ironman, a straight up aero machine, and that's the bike that would be ideal for when the conditions are flat. is when you're riding over 15 miles an hour, aerodynamics becomes really the main force that you're up against, as trying to have a minimalized frontal area without having any reduction in your power output. That's the trick, and it's not as easy to do as anyone would think. These bikes are not comfortable to ride in any way, but with the aero bars, you are able to get a flat-backed position, and that is somewhat more comfortable than riding on a standard road machine. So that covers two of the bikes, the climbing bike, the aero bike, and then generally most riders will have a third standard setup aero bike as well that they will use in case of any mechanical problems with their two other machines. We're moving into a new phase here at the 2013 RAAM, as our riders are going to be looking at their first opportunity or the first time that they're going to accept the fact that they're going to need to sleep. When we talk about sleep, it really is not taking a nap or going to bed, because they're only going to be off the bike at a maximum of 90 minutes. For all of our top solo riders, if they got 30 minutes of actual sleep, they would be doing pretty well here. It's just a chance to get off the bike, stretch the legs, rest the mind for a moment, as you're going to see the riders developing what you call that 20-meter stare out in front of them. It almost becomes hypnotic watching the road coming at you at 20 miles an hour, and that's the average speed that we're looking at. So this is the moment where you're going to have to decide if you're going to take rest and how much rest you're going to take, as the physiology of each rider is different. We've seen guys ride as far as 600 miles into the race before taking sleep. So this strategy is going to be important, and this is where we start seeing the give and the take out there on the Race Across America. The motivation that the riders get from seeing spectators and the encouragement that they receive along the way makes a big, big difference. So if you're like me, you want to see a record set this year, why don't you get out to the side of the road and cheer them on? We're going to be heading back to Oceanside, as already we're hearing reports of our teams checking in there. The logistics are absolutely amazing when you talk about a 2, a 4, or an 8-rider team. So as they're arriving in Oceanside, we'll continue following the action as our riders make their way up to the 500-mile mark. I'm Dave Toll for our entire RAAM team. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.